In 2018, voter ID cards were linked with the Aadhar database in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Later, names of at least 55 lakh voters went missing from the electoral rolls. It forced the government to roll back the decision. How do we ensure that there is effective implementation of this Amendment Act?
You see, there are a couple of issues here. The first thing is, of course, it does the linking of the election voter database with the other ecosystem. It helps in two ways. One, it removes the bogus voters and removes also the double people who are registered, as you mentioned, at two places. So entry of same person twice or thrice. So double names in the same voter list. This does help. Now, the same exercise, if you do this exercise as a part of the routine annual exercise, which used to be done annually on 1st of January as a revision exercise, now this is the most significant, one of the most significant aspects of the bill, that it is now going to be done 4 times, so that every eligible voter gets included in the voter database, and therefore it enfranchises the new voters. In fact, it doesn't disenfranchise. This is happening on one side. But on the other side, as you mentioned, what the Telangana experiment,
yes,
a number of people got disenfranchised because they did not have the documents. And therefore, this clause which is there in the bill, that it is not mandatory to produce Aadhar, but they will have other documents under the circumstances described in the amendment bill, then they could also be considered. See, it will not be I agree with Mr. Kantha on this, that the election reforms in India is a multifaceted, very complex and process, and
yes,
it spans across a number of issues that has to be tackled. This is just one of them, and in this, if you make a very watertight, on and off a situation that you have Aadhar, then you have your name. If you don't have Aadhar, you don't have your name. This will disenfranchise. The problem is not really with disenfranchisement. The problem is with the possibility of profiling. If
yes,
you have linked both the Aadhar database, which is a welfare kind of a database, with the voter database, which is a political empowerment process. And therefore, to use the word ecosystem, to give a linkage to the ecosystem is, I think, incorrect. What the Act actually merely does is that it just verifies whether the voter is real or not by verifying it against his Aadhar, and doesn't remain in the Aadhar database. Because had it remained, then profiling would have been an issue. The serious issue of cyber security would have been there, because 2 huge databases of this country would have been available to hackers. And I suggested to the law minister that even these 2 currently should immediately be taken into a blockchain system, because the security of the system is very important. It is not just the standing committee. The Election Commission also had pushed for it on the advice of the Supreme Court, and therefore this has come. But I agree completely, this is just a very, very tiny step. This will take care of only the double names appearing there or triple names appearing there and bogus voters. A lot remains to be done. The implementation will depend, however, on the people who are enrolling. The conditions in which a person will get disenfranchised is when he or she can't produce an Aadhar card, but he can produce other documents for which a leeway has been given in the Act. The people who are registering should be mindful of this, and they should not become too strict with the Aadhar thing, in which case a certain section of people may get disenfranchised. But I think by running it 4 times in a year, these lacuna in the implementation should get ironed out over a period of time.
All right, but Naik, if citizens' data is breached, they would have no recourse to their right to privacy in the absence of a data privacy law. Do you think going forward, the government should specify the extent of data sharing?
You raised a very valid point, a very important one, that is related to the privacy of citizens. By linking 2 huge databases and very sensitive databases, there is always a scope for breach of the data, that is data leakages, in which case citizens' privacy, informational privacy would be hurt, citizen could be hurt, the privacy would be breached, privacy would be compromised. Now, in the absence of a personal data protection bill formally enacted by the Parliament, the fixing of responsibility on the agents or agencies who have caused this breach, or under whose knowledge this breach has happened, and compensating the voter, in this case the data principle, that structure is not there till this bill is passed. However, we must remember that after the Puttaswamy judgment, right to informational privacy is a part of fundamental rights, right to life, Article 21. Now, if that is there, that no one can take away, that is the law of the land. What the PDP bill would have done is to elaborate on it, how to administer this fundamental right. So now, if this has happened, I think it is the government should be very important for government. It would be do well for the government if they bring out the personal data privacy bill or the data privacy bill very, very fast, and that would actually give an institutional structure to ensure that the privacy of citizens are protected despite this linking, number one. Number two, I think the technology should be used in, I told again to the law minister, Mr. Kiran Rijiju at that time, informally though, that the need for access to the entire ecosystem of the Aadhar is not required if you really want to verify the citizen, whether the voter list is accurate or not, whether the entry in the voter list is that of a voter or not as per the Aadhar. There's no need to get into what benefits are being given to them, which is also available in the database. And therefore, there is the linkage should be only a temporary linkage or a kind of an batch processes, they say, where you have the list of voter ID numbers and you just send it to the database, it checks and throws back exceptions, and then you ask for other documents to verify. The permanent linking will create a hazard not only for the voter, but the government, for every other authority which is depending on the Aadhar database for dispensing citizens' benefits. It will be a huge danger, and that is the risk. And I had flagged it then, I am flagging it now, and if the act comes, the privacy PDP bill, then probably I think the government would also realize, and the citizens would have confidence that even if I am linking my database, my data is protected, I am safe, nobody is going to use my data to target me for some kind of a political advertisement, some kind of, for all you know, it would actually go to
Absolutely, Dr. Patak.
who keep pestering him for buying something. So I think it is important for government that they should come out with this personal data protection bill very quickly, as fast as possible, to particularly to improve the ecosystem of the electoral reforms in the country.